Mr. Green.
I vowed to be the nicest. On the mic and with rhyme writing, my mind states gone cipher, divine righteous. This is the sound of refinement. Extra time spent on every line written. You can hear the difference when I'm rhyming. The barbarian rap writings like Clash of the Titans. I wield the pen like Poseidon holding the golden triton. On the mic I strike faster than vipers and flashes of bolts of lightning. My poetry will leave the Pope enlightened. Whack rappers is past time, you paid the Pied Piper. As the price just skyrocket, I stand to make a profit. I rap circles and spirals above your favorite artist, like an identifiable flying object. With bars so far over your head, I'm modest to be rhyming in high orbit. If I dumb the metaphors down, you think the sky was falling. Rappers' arms too short to shadow box with the lords in the pantheon of rap. I'm the high exalted, the new God flow. Prepare your offering. I treat the booth like the synagogue, cause the mic's my calling. I should congregate a following, although agnostic. You felt the flow was God sent, further personifying my Messiah complex. I'm a wordsmith, the Wizard of Oz over percussion, throwing up sick bars. My flow fucking disgusting. Cutting edge caliber, higher purpose and vision. We write our own rhymes, you buying verses that's written. Mixed martial bars that'll beat you into submission. Lethal like a steel desert eagle with precision. Switch the elements, I'm the alchemist when I'm mixing metals. Accelerate on these devils, we reaching different levels in my own zone in this game. Like I play alone, breaking bones like a giant in the Game of Thrones. I hire breathe like a dragon when he fire breathe. I'm never separated from the mic, it's like we Siamese. Ultramagnetic MCs spit it magnificent, so deliberate with the sickest shit, it's ridiculous. Patterned after the greatest to ever do it, the legends destined to manifest on this earth. What's up in heaven? In 24/7, this presentation is feature worthy. Got so much class, I study, I'm never leaving early. Every song sensational, heavy rotational. Snakes will try to copy this style, but they not capable. Overcame problems, could damage a man's confidence, and now we making music that travels across continents. You could call me Mars with these bars, I'm like the god of war, a battle rap cannibalistic beast, a carnivore.
And welcome into Real Deal Sports Talk with KP. It is March 9th, 2019. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. We got a lot of different aspects to talk about in sports this week. I like doing the weekly shows this time of year without, weekly NFL games. It gives more time for things to develop, more times for things to marinate, more time for all of us to conversate out there in the world that is social media about these things that are going down. Today on the show, we're gonna talk about this David Irving situation. He quit the NFL this week, it looks like, on his Instagram account. We'll talk about what happened there. We'll listen to his words, and then we'll just have a little chat about it. Adidas, they're giving equal bonuses now to the men and women World Cup. We'll get into that. Of course, the LeBron Jordan debate episode 4,999,900 whatever. We'll get into that as LeBron passes Jordan on the all-time scoring list this week. Sports Illustrated and Kalen Jones ran a great article on the 4th about something that Jack White is doing up in Detroit. We'll get into that as he is helping restore a famous stadium. And, of course, free agency kicks off this week. So if we have time, we'll talk about it a little bit after that at the end of the show. If not, we'll get to everything that equips free agency next week afterwards, for sure. But I want to start off with this David Irving situation. We call it a situation because that makes everybody's eyebrows go up, right? Okay, we're all paying attention now. He did it on Instagram. He's smoking a blunt. Oh my goodness, what's he doing? He's giving up millions of dollars. Well, you know what? Let's listen to a little bit of his words, and then we'll just kind of talk about it. How does that sound? Yeah, let's do that.
I have concussions every day. I get to see around the office how that fucks your head up. And I feel it, crashing cars, all types of stuff, day after the game. And You know, I'm not about to be told what to do. I mean, really, especially because it's not really what it seems. Oh, you're smoking weed for throwing away millions of dollars. I've been in the football league, for 5 years? I'm not rich. Still ain't got $1 million. Still ain't seen $1 million. I'm not putting up with this shit for no reason. You know, the shit they did with Cap, the shit they're doing to my dog Randy. I mean, it's one thing if everything was banned, but it's not. Plants over pills. About to type that right there. Plants. My bad, y'all. I got that bum-ass internet. Plants over pills. And it's not, I don't know, when you start talking about addiction, that's a sensitive subject. It's funny, you know, some people are like, oh, you're addicted to weed, you're addicted to this and that. I mean, shit, if I'm going to be addicted to something, I'd rather be marijuana, which is medical. It's a medicine. I do not consider it a drug, rather than the Xanax bars or the Hydros or the Seroquel and all that crazy shit that they feed you, you know? So like I said, it ain't about smoking weed. How many NBA players you see getting in trouble about this? How many coaches you see getting in trouble about this? How many baseball players getting in trouble? How many UFC players getting in trouble? How many actors? You know, how many people getting in trouble over it? Not many, but you do see us football players. NFL gonna, I mean, I love, let's get it straight too. I know y'all got some questions, but everyone questions my commitment to football. And let's get it straight, here and now. I love football. Football is, I mean, shit, it shaped me, you know? I wouldn't be here without it. Don't get me wrong. I love football.
All right, so that's David Irving. That was his post from his Instagram. That was the audio of his post. And he made some points in there that I think should be discussed. Whether you are a user, a non-user, on the fence and think it's okay for other people but not just for you. Maybe you're a struggling addict. There's a lot of aspects that roll up into this. So let's roll up into it and, you know, break it down, talk about what he said and all the aspects, some of the aspects that can come out of this. This cannabis versus painkillers basically debate that's going on right now in professional sports and really focusing in itself in the NFL world where there are a lot of the NFL athletes that have been busted for smoking and testing positive for THC, the active ingredient in cannabis, where they do have a lot of their athletes in a situation where it's painkillers, injections, because of the physicality, because of the brutality, because of what their bodies are going through. And don't give me the argument, oh, they're getting paid, they don't have any room to complain. BS. They're not your little puppets. They're not just out there to do it, you know, your bidding because you pay to see them. These are people. They're human beings. And the idea that they're addicted to these hard substances that Big Pharma pushes instead of having some other form or natural remedy to help ease their pain or something that might be less addictive to them is nonsense. It's not a performance enhancer. It does not make you better in any way. Painkillers. Millions of people are addicted to them. Tens of thousands of people are dying every year because of the addiction to them. That cannot be said about cannabis. You remove the THC, you got the CBD. That's what a lot of medical purposes come from the CBD. You're seeing it help with seizures. You're seeing it help with anxiety and depression, PTSD, pain management, headache management. I read recently there's something like 1,000 or 10,000 medical uses for CBD. And it doesn't always have to be smoking. There's oils, there's edibles, there's pills. There's a negative stigma that was put to cannabis a long time ago. And Rupert Murdoch helped in that. He helped push that negative stigma. He helped make it seem like it was the poor man or the brown man's drug. In fact, they helped coin the term marijuana to make it sound more ethnic. Now you hear David Irving talk about concussions and how he's dealing with concussions and how he sees concussions. You hear how people are telling him you're throwing away money and he ain't seen $1 million yet and he's been in the NFL for 5 years. Now, he's had his injuries, he's had his suspensions, so there's reasons he hasn't seen his $1 million yet with the talent that he is. He talks about Randy Gregory's battles with marijuana. Josh Gordon, he didn't bring that up, but Josh Gordon and his use of marijuana. How and what they've done with Colin Kaepernick. And what he's getting to there is that he sees a bias. He sees a bias on what they think is important and what they don't think is important. And if it's not something important to them, well, then they'll destroy it. And if it is, then they don't. And they're not picking everything the ban. They're picking the things they don't like or that they think are bad or that, they have a personal opinion about, not necessarily a scientific one. Or they might be, falling back on the legality of federal law. Well, the federal law was created kind of out of racism. So that will be gone in the next 5 to 10 years. Mark my word. They're going to figure out how to profit off of this. They're seeing how the states who have legalized it are profiting off of it, and they are going to figure out how to make money off of it too, and it will become federally legal. That's why we're hearing in the next CBA in the NFL that they are considering easing restrictions for testing and use of cannabis amongst the players. So did he quit the NFL? Is he making a stance? Is he trying to be one of these new activists, these new politically active players? I don't know if it's really that. I think it's a guy who's just decided what's important in life to him, and getting beat up and having long-term damage and no way to deal with it except some kind of pain pill addiction, which he may or may not know people that have gone down that road and had it end bad in his life, in players that he knows or people off the field that he knows, because the opioid addiction, the opioid crisis, extends much further than just the athletic field. He texts out leftover pills and shows the leftover bag. Shouldn't have leftover pills. They shouldn't be getting pills like that from team doctors or any other doctor to manage their pain. That's creating a system for them to have an addiction. Because then on that addiction, you know what happens? Their life does get ruined. They do end up being broke. They end up having no money. They end up having to do something to fill that addiction. He talks about the inaccuracies amongst other leagues and other professions and just the differences between the players and the coaches and who is being tested for it and who's not being tested for it. Again, there's a bias in there. They're trying to catch certain people. It's not a rule for everybody. It's not a stipulation for everybody. You don't see it as much in other leagues. And this is not because he doesn't love football. He makes that clear as well. He loves the game of football. It got him where he is. He owes everything to the game. But to a man, he's not willing to sit there and be used anymore. And then be forced down an alleyway to be somebody who's addicted to a chemical substance. Now, he might also just like smoking weed. There's a lot of people out there, that's their thing. Puff, puff, pass, pass. But when it's coming from an athlete and he starts his conversation off talking about concussions, and he talks about the painkillers, leftover pills, and you think about the players who have battled this pain pill addiction, like a Brett Favre, like a Ryan Leaf. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Maybe there is something to it. Maybe there's a reason we have so many stories of former NFL players who had these painkiller addictions and or were pushed on pain pills, now using CBD and or marijuana, cannabis, to battle whatever ailment they might have. Like a Ricky Williams, like Jake Plummer, like a Kyle Turley. Tiki Barber is now an investor. Eugene Monroe. Joe Montana is even an investor in legal cannabis right now. Marvin Washington is another one. And the skeptics would say, well, what about the addiction concerns to marijuana? What about the gateway drug aspect? It's going to lead these players and these people to other things. The biggest gateway drug on this planet is caffeine. After that, it's nicotine. Cigarettes, vape pens. Those are what opened the door. You look at the statistics, a lot of potheads don't go out and try other things. It's not the 60s where they're mixing it with PCP and LSD and acid and all these other things at hippie festivals. Again, a stereotype. But yes, it is addictive substance. It is addicting. People will be addicted to it. They can get addicted to it. Does it vary person to person? 100%. Just like every substance on this planet varies how it's going to react person to person. And just like painkillers, it's not going to be a solution for everybody. And legalizing it doesn't mean every one of these players and everybody out there all of a sudden has an instant cure and they're all going to be better. But it should be an option. They should have the option to be a responsible person, use a substance to manage their pain, their anxiety, their depression, their PTSD, their sleep patterns, their hunger, whatever they're using it for, seizures, child therapy, animal therapy, skin therapy, glaucoma, cancer. It should be a choice. NBC Sports is the one who's reporting right now. Go look at their report that it's going to be considered in the next CBA for the NFL. And I think that's a huge step. I think it needs to be considered. I think the science is out there. The results are there to be seen, not just of the profitability for the capitalist free market people out there, but for the people who are maybe more holistic, don't want painkillers, want a different avenue. The hippies. Now, all that being said, those of you out there who are dealing with some kind of an addiction, reach out to the National Addiction Hotline. Reach out to VanceCares.com. Friend of the show, Vance Johnson, they're there to help. And being a former NFL player, being an addict, Vance has been down the road. It's a battle that he fights with you day to day. He's doing big things. He's got the new book coming out, Uncovered. Vance Johnson Uncovered. Dual meaning there. Opening up, talking about the receiver aspect, the football aspect, so the play on words. But reach out. Whether it's you, somebody you know, addiction's not a fun thing. It can really ruin lives. It can ruin the lives around you. It's something to take serious, and I just think the options need to be made available. I think guys need to stop being persecuted. I think our jails need to be empty to people who had minor offenses. And, not everything needs to be created in a lab. That's where I'm at with it. That's where David Irving's at with it. We'll see where the NFL goes with it. We'll see where the science goes with it. But I see change on the horizon. I think David Irving's taking a little bit of a chance here. Maybe he still catches on playing football in another league. Who knows? But I don't see the NFL right now at this point going, okay, David, you made a really good point. The opioid epidemic in this country is bad. We're going to work with you. No, he's going to serve a suspension. He's going to go on the exemption list for sure. So moving forward, was it the best way to go about it? Maybe not. Does it need to be talked about? Yes, it needs to be talked about. So for that, David Irving, much respect, my friend. All right, other places to have respect right now will be with Adidas. Much respect to Adidas. They will now be giving the women and the men the same World Cup bonus. This news coming on the heels of the announcement that the women's national team is filing a federal class action suit to get equal pay to their male counterparts. Again, when it comes to athletic pay, it's more of a percentage thing than a dollar amount thing. So, because of the revenue that's being generated by those sports. So again, I'm all on board for all of the women to be making an equal percentage of pay to what they generate as what the men game does. And eventually, as we pay more respect to these women and understand their athleticism and, you know, the expertise to which they are playing these sports. This week was International Women's Day, yesterday on the 8th. And I put out there, you know, who was the female athlete that inspired you the most? For me, it was Mia Hamm. Watching her in the 90s play soccer, she was one of the really first female athletes that caught my eye as being dominant and just doing her thing, and then leading up into that last World Cup victory there. It was just something to watch, and she always inspired me for just how good she was. Hooked up with Nomar Garcia-Pera along the way as well, top athlete there for the Boston Red Sox at the time. So, not sure why I even needed to mention that in conjunction with her, because she was an amazing soccer player. But, hey, amazing sports family. So, congratulations, much respect to Adidas. I think that's great. I think the women deserve it. And hopefully we can start working that out more across the board, where they're earning equal percentage of pay to what the male counterparts are. Okay, big story this week. Everybody got it all up in their mind, all up, you know, in their craw and everything. LeBron versus Jordan, who's the GOAT? Career longevity, more shots, more attempts, less games, more games. Who did this? Who did that? Well, let's talk about some of the stats, and then we'll just be a little real about it. You know, I'm not a fanboy of either one. There's things I like, things I dislike about both of them, so it's a little easier for me to have this conversation than for some. I didn't get sucked in to Nike and NBA and the Gatorade making Michael Jordan synonymous with basketball in the 90s. I didn't succumb to that. I didn't look past Kareem and Wilt and Russell. You know, I didn't overlook the other great players as if they weren't great. I didn't overlook Jordan's own comments about how he didn't play against all those guys. All these guys didn't play against others, so to pick one being the best, again, in a team sport, where it's not one-on-one. You can't pick the best. It's not one-on-one. They didn't play each other, and Jordan's right about that aspect. It's hard to say who's the best of all time. They're all great. We need to appreciate greatness and stop acting like our opinions about who we like more or who we cheered for more makes them better than somebody else. Because that's really what the debate comes down to between Jordan and LeBron. It's who do you like more? Did you grow up in the Jordan era where he became that character? Or are you growing up now where LeBron has been that character? It's just your opinion. They're great. Appreciate it. Because 5-10 years after LeBron's done, all we'll be talking about is how amazing his career was. And wow, can we believe how many championships he went to and how many finals in a row he took teams to. And yeah, we're not going to talk about this season with the Lakers when it's all said and done. We're not going to talk about the Lakers missing the playoffs when they very well probably should have been the 4th or 5th seed this year. LeBron went down. They were in the 4th seed. Now they're, I think, 14th in the West. Something like that. They're way down there now. Haven't been playing well. His minutes are going to be monitored. You can talk about all that kind of stuff. You can talk about how he passed him on the all-time point list, which to me would be a bigger accomplishment if Jordan was first on the list. But Jordan is now 4th on the list. So passing somebody who's 4th on the list to me really is not that big of an accomplishment. You moved into 3rd place. Great. At the end of your career, that's something to talk about. This week, that was not something to talk about to me. Okay, you moved into 3rd. Great. You still got Kobe, you still got Karl, and you still got Kareem all in front of you. And you're going to manage your minutes? Now, maybe your ultimate goal, and I think he's actually said it would be nice to pass him, maybe it's not to have all the points all time. Maybe you're switching your mindset. But you look at comparative numbers. Okay, LeBron now has more points all time. He's going to finish with a lot more points than Jordan had all time. He's got way more rebounds than Jordan. Over 2,000 more. He's got over 3,000 more assists, or about 3,000 more assists right now. He's going to finish, he's already in the top 10 in points and assists, the only player in NBA history to do that. Probably doesn't get to top 5 in assists, but he's going to be top 10. LeBron has a better field goal percentage all time right now. He's played more seasons all time right now. He's played in more games. He's had more all-star appearances. Jordan has more regular season MVPs and more championships. Now, if rings are what the debate's going to be, because that's the thing that we hear a lot, is Jordan's got 6 for 6. He's got 6 rings. Okay, well, Kareem's got 6 rings. You know who else has 6 rings or more? Oh, like 7 guys from the Boston Celtics. Bill Russell has 11. Let's not forget about that. And we can't bash the time period that they played in. That's who they had as competition. It was still greatness for an era. And I hear the debate, oh, these guys couldn't play then, Jordan couldn't play now, physicality, this, that. Okay, yes, the physicality factor, that's huge. That makes a big difference in playing basketball. But to tell me that somebody like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell couldn't adapt to today's game when you got guys like Jokic and Kristaps Porzingis and Boogie hitting threes and playing on the outside? Come on, now you're just being ridiculous. Those greats could have played in today's game. Shaq could have played in today's game. I understand it's a 3-point game, but you put Shaq down low in this 3-point small ball league, and he is going to wreck shop because nobody would be able to deal with him. Come playoff time, what do the Golden State Warriors always go and do right before the playoffs? They sign some center to be on their team. They just signed Andrew Bogut to be the center because come playoff time, you need that aspect. You need those fouls. You need that rim protector, no matter what the small ball aspect of the league is. So when I hear that argument coming from either LeBron fans or Jordan fans, it's like, okay, you're proving my point. All we had to do was replace Jordan with anybody else in that era, and we'd feel the same way. You guys would feel the same way about that person. Because they helped save the league. They helped put the league back on the map. They had the marketing behind them. They were making the best commercials. They were winning championships. Answer me this. If Magic Johnson, with the run he had already been on throughout the 80s, doesn't come down with HIV in the early 90s, does the NBA push some of the resources continuing around the guy from LA with the smile, with the name of Magic, and not put all of the eggs in the basket of Michael Jordan? And then are we sitting here now feeling differently about the situation? Does the league change if Magic doesn't go down with HIV? Does Jordan not win all of those championships because maybe somebody finds their way to the Lakers and the Lakers are still in the mix in the early 90s after their amazing run throughout the 80s? A lot of factors played into it. The fact of the matter is LeBron is a very good, one of the better basketball players of all time. Michael Jordan is a very good, one of the better basketball players of all time. Michael Jordan changed the game. They had to change the game. They made him the face of the game. They had to change the way he got officiated. Everybody now knows the Michael Jordan rule and how that's called and what that means when you bring it up. And then by no In no way am I trying to say that Michael Jordan wasn't a great player. But I'm saying let's just chill on all of this talk about who's the greatest. Because greatness is greatness, and I like to just see great players perform at a high level in athletics for as long as I can. That's why we watch the draft. That's why we watch college athletics. That's why some of us watch high school athletics. So we know who the next great one's going to be because we want to see that greatness. So stop hating on the greatness and appreciate the greatness. Try that, everybody. Just for a day. Watch a game of somebody who's your rival and just appreciate who may be their great player. Interesting part of what happened this week, now all four of the players in the top four of scoring in the NBA have taken their final shots with the Lakers. Now, we all assume LeBron's not going to play for anybody else after the Lakers at this point. We assume that at the end of this 4-year deal, that's going to be it for him. So if that's true, Kareem took his last shot with the Lakers. Karl Malone took his last shot with the Lakers. Kobe took his last shot with the Lakers. LeBron James is on pace to take his last shot with the Lakers. That's something for an organization that's pretty cool to say that every player in the top four finished their career with us. Just kind of a fun little aspect of this whole debate, trying to keep it positive at the end right there. Oh, positivity. Gotta love Jack White. Wasn't a big White Stripes fan, to be honest with you. Been more impressed with hearing him speak and other things that he's done, like this is being reported by Kaylin Jones out of Sports Illustrated on March 4th. She writes, Detroit native and White Stripes frontman Jack White is partnering up with the Pius Institute and the Friends of Historic Hamtramck Stadium to launch a new campaign to restore Hamtramck Stadium in Michigan. Hamtramck Stadium is one of the last remaining Negro League baseball stadiums. The former home of the Detroit Stars is located in Hamtramck on the border with Detroit. Several Negro League legends, including Satchel Paige and Josh Gibson, have played in the park. White, a Tigers fan, is donating $10,000 to the campaign launched by PatronCity.com, which is aiming to raise $50,000. The Michigan Economic Development Corporation will match donations up to $50,000. So this could raise up to $100,000 for the Hamtramck Stadium. Hamtramck Stadium has not been used since the 1990s and is currently closed to the public. However, plans for the restoration intend for the site's future usage as a host for baseball, soccer, and cricket games. To me, this is just something to be applauded. It's really cool. Sports history is something that if it can be preserved, it can teach a lot of lessons about life. Again, going back to the conversation we had just a few weeks ago about all of the things that you should get out of sports that have nothing to do with your big contract money-making nonsense that is talked about so much these days. So to see this, to see him respecting the history of the game, to respect the history of Detroit, to respect the history of the Negro Leagues and those forgotten players, it's really cool. So I salute Jack White on his efforts there. I would love to get up there when I'm able to see a game at Ford Field, go see this Hamtramck Stadium and see where the Detroit Stars played. The only Negro League gear I've ever had was actually a Detroit Stars hoodie. So it's just something cool to me, and I'd like to see it done. So again, salute to Jack White and salute to the organization that is the Pius Institute and the Friends of Historic Hamtramck Stadium for taking on this campaign and wanting to keep that viable and going. All right, free agency, it begins this week. I think tampering starts on Monday, the legal tampering. Next week's show, we'll talk about all the rumors. Did they come true? Who's signing where early? And the trades that will go final. Until next time, you know how we do. Just be real.
Yo, Denver City life living, every night getting it. All I see is green like it's night vision. My sight's different, my type driven. These niggas risking a life sittings over white flipping, but I ain't with it, I'm light skinned it. My mind gifted, intelligence in my disposition, aristocratic image, and not to mention I'm nice with it. The ice drip over cardigan sweaters, tight fitting, white linen. This is the type of shit that entice women. The fly shit that I'm on is passing the sky's limits. Why it's not surprising to see that all of these guys live it. I vivid, solemnly swear the rhyme exquisite. With the time I'm giving, my mind flying, defying physics. I stay smooth like sipping out of champagne flutes. Always way cool, but it ain't a thing, just a flame cruise. You lame dudes, this that shit that you can't do. That's why your main boo steady watching me how I make moves.
My high city life got me way above the clouds. Paint the audience a picture every time I draw a crowd. I hold my weight with these bars, so make no mistake. I get to cooking like Chef Curry and Golden State. I'm motivated, I'm taking off, moving vertically. Saying that they were seeing me lyrically, that's absurd to me. Virtually murdering MCs on purpose. Cutting their body parts into pieces is verbal surgery. You say you hot, but you ain't burning to the third degree. Time to bring some urgency in the state of emergency. There's no comparison to us, that's way embarrassing. Making something from nothing like ancient Native Americans. Man, listen, I'm undergoing a transition. My transmissions are filled with nothing but ambition. No remorse on these rappers like a Roman force. Snuck into the game on these suckers inside the Trojan horse.
No remorse on these rappers like a Roman force. Snuck into the game on these suckers inside the Trojan horse.